We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
I got this feeling inside.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. We are Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and everything in between. We have a great show for you today. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Debbie Carlin Boyle, and I am a certified fitness instructor, personal trainer, and integrative nutrition coach. And sitting to my left is the other half.
Hi, I'm the other half. I'm Del A.D. Jones, and I'm a certified spiritual psychology coach specializing in the areas of personal growth, relationships, narcissistic abuse, and codependency issues. And today we are so excited. We're going to have a great show today all about the healing arts. And who better to discuss the topic with than our CEO and founder of, let me know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Attalla Wellness, and this is Mary Attalla. So before we meet Mary...
Welcome, Mary.
Yeah. I just want to give you a little bit of background on Mary. So she's an expert in alternative medicine, and she incorporates her skills as a certified yoga master, accomplished healer, compound herbalist, and holistic nutritionist, amongst many other things. So to help her clients, she uses all these modalities so that they can achieve optimum health and well-being. So thank you, Mary. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We're so excited. And before we get going, we also want to remind our audience that we are an interactive show, and Mary's here. If a subject comes up and you have a question or a comment, do call us. Our number is 323-473-3100. Or you could go to our Facebook page, Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and make a comment or ask a question there if you don't want to be on the air. So, having said that, welcome, Mary.
Thank you.
We're so excited because what you do is right within everything that Del and I, and the title of our show is even all about. But what we want to do is get to know, because we always feel like our guests are sitting in the position they're sitting in and are in the professions they're in based on where they've come from and the road they took to get there. And that's what we want to know about you. So
Plus, we're just really nosy
Yeah.
and love to hear about people's backgrounds, what influenced them, how they grew up, and stuff like that. So we're excited to find out.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I never really saw myself doing this. It was kind of, I feel like I was called to do this kind of work, and I kind of fell upon it. And the way that I fell upon it is upon graduating college, I became very, very ill. And I was actually planning to go to law school right after college, and I started...
I'm going to stop you. Where'd you go to school? And where are you from?
Originally, I'm from New York.
Okay.
Upstate New York.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time in Quebec. I have a lot of family in Quebec.
Okay.
But I went to school at the University of Arizona in Tucson, where Dr. Andrew Weil teaches.
He was one of my mentors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
He's amazing, and he's quite the influencer in our industry. And I think he's actually a big part of what opened up the doors for us to come through with more, eclectic practices and more of the traditional, like ancient practices. So I was dabbling with alternative medicine and metaphysics, and little did I know, I was dabbling in it like a couple years before I was graduating. And then upon towards the end of my last year, I became really ill. Little did I know that I was dabbling in the things that were going to help heal me. Mm-hmm. And so I got into it through trying to heal my own self, and I just got deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the path until people started to hear of some of my healing abilities and the things that I could work with, and I started to kind of get a little bit of a following and a lot of word of mouth.
Are you comfortable sharing with us what physical issue you were dealing with? You don't have to.
It was pretty serious. I was on my deathbed. I typically, honestly, I know it's kind of funny because everyone always wants to know all the gory details. Like, what did you go through? I kind of don't like to put the spotlight on myself about what I went through, because I think it kind of takes away from more what I'm here to do for other people, you know, but it was along the lines of like a very severe degenerative disease. I battled it for many years, many years.
Without knowing you had it? Or
I didn't
you did?
really know what I had for the first 5 years. And the interesting thing is a lot of people that come to me, they go and they see all the top doctors and no one can give them an answer. And so I kind of feel like I've gone through things so that I can relate with people and also help them on their path.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to spend too much time because that's a whole story.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I mean, as a coach, I obviously don't do physical coaching. I don't coach on wellness and things like that. But as a coach myself, I often find it's our own personal stories that when people realize what we've been through, they feel safe with us. They feel relatable. They know we understand them, that we're not going to just dismiss their symptoms or their feelings. So
it's very true.
It's very important that you went through what you went through.
Yeah, it really is. And I always went alternative. Because at the time when I got sick, my mother was going through breast cancer, and I saw what she went through when she was, you know, doing chemotherapy and dealing with medical staff, and it was really horrific, and it was very hard for her to go through it. And I decided that if I also had cancer, which is what they suspected that I had at the time, they thought I had leukemia, but my spine was so fragile and so weak and degenerating so quickly that they wanted to do a spinal tap to see that it could have collapsed my lungs.
Ooh, yeah.
So it wasn't really, I feel like the conventional route was not really an option for me. So I was like, well, you know what, I'm going to try everything natural. And if I die, I die. You know, that was kind of...
Wow, what an
pretty-
attitude. But you saw
it
two
was-
things going on. You saw what your mother was going through, and you thought, that's not my route.
Not my route.
And now you were going through something, and you knew instinctively. I think we all know instinctively what we should and shouldn't be doing.
I think, though, that's... I see a lot of people struggle with that, especially in Southern California. For some reason, I think because I have clients all over the world, and certain regions people struggle a little more with really listening and being into their intuition. And I see they're really afraid to not listen to the conventional medical advice.
And the other thing is
scary.
It isn't also, depending on how you grew up, a lot of people went through, a family situation where you were basically, where your instincts or your feelings were either denied or told, no,
Very
you don't
true.
feel that way, or don't be silly, or
I think you
detach.
probably just hit the nail on the head with
It's about what
exactly.
you grew up with and what you were told you have to listen to authority.
And I know
doing
for
a little
myself,
psychology on me right now.
well, I know for myself, I was just going to say this, for myself, there was years when my therapist would say to me, well, what do you feel like? I don't know what I feel. I know what everybody else feels. I'm so keyed in on picking up on what's around everyone else, because that's the environment I was brought up in, was to deny my own truth and to be highly tuned in to what other people were thinking and feeling. And so not many people, well, I'm not saying, shouldn't say that. There are quite a few people that are so detached from their own instincts and their own inner voices, and it takes a long time to develop that and get that back. But it can come back.
Well, I have pretty good instincts, but let's just say I had to really fight to, act them out. I had a lot of opposition against me.
And that happens.
And I think that's the biggest reason why people, they don't want to, tip the boat. They don't want to. They don't want to make their family upset. But for me, it was about survival.
Yeah.
And I kind of hope to be like a voice and help other people to stand strong in their truth and in their intuition and to really get into their instincts. And that's actually a big part of what I do with my clients is I really get them to know their body and to be their own healer and to get their own answers. I mean, I'm there to give them the guidelines and I do have quite a bit of skills in the area, but at the end of the day, they have to come to it on their own. They have to be able to listen to their own body body, because I'm not living in their body 100% of the time.
Exactly.
And we're all so different, and our bodies change every day. Our emotions change and fluctuate. Our thoughts, there's so many things that we're constantly influenced by minute to minute. And it's just a matter of really being able to balance the inner and the outer.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Beautiful.
That's such
So
a
well
big
said.
part of my practice is listening to you are unique, and your individuality is, and what you put in your body and what you do for your body is not the same as what the other person, if they're doing the exact same things, results will be. So I love what you do.
Yeah.
And
I just love that.
I love that too, Debbie, because I don't hear a lot of people in our industry that speak that way, because I think it's kind of like it's looked at as a luxury to think and look at that, like things that way too. Like I think we're just so based on convenience nowadays that it's hard to really sit and tune in and, you know, customize things. And those options have, you know, not been easy to come by. And it's great that there's more of a revival in that direction.
Yeah, I hope to
wellness.
have a snowball effect
Yeah.
coming soon, you
Yeah.
know, just that people. But going back to you and healing yourself, so you were successful at being able, obviously, but
Yes, you're still here.
I mean, you took a path,
Say
you
that,
took a
yeah.
road. Was it a long road, or how did that?
It was a pretty long road because, so I never had a formal diagnosis. So I see now I'm saying it. I like usually don't share this. But what they thought I had was some form of leukemia.
Right.
So leukemia, from what I've gone through and what I've seen with working with other clients who've had it, it's kind of like 1,000 diseases in one. It's, you know,
It's a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot of stuff going
while
on
you're-
in
It's
the
a
body.
blood disorder, but it's
and bone, and so
right.
it affects every single cell and
Organ.
every single part of your body. So it taught me so much about the body. I mean, it just opened up like all this knowledge and information to access about the body. And I feel like that's why I went through it and came through the other side. I mean, I still have my little glitches in my body here and there, but every single day I'm getting better, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting healthier, I'm getting more radiant. And I personally don't believe in aging.
I defy it all every day. I defy it. I just don't think getting old and getting sick go hand in hand. And there's
I
no
don't
such
think it's,
thing.
I just don't think
you
it's
know?
necessary.
Yeah.
Good.
Exactly.
Well, you look amazing for 85.
that. Yeah.
You're living proof.
Thank you.
So okay, so you were successful then in healing yourself, but did you go through training and courses in order to do that for yourself that in turn brought you to your career?
So a lot of people ask me, so when they hear like, oh my God, you went through all this, what did you do? And I'm like, well, what did I not do? You know, because I went and searched everything new. I would, try every supplement, every book, courses, but a lot of it, because a lot of the practitioners that I went to, I was way over what they could deal with, had to come from me. And it opened up my ability, or reminded me rather of my ability that I can heal myself. I can answer my own questions. I can we do need other people and interactions, but it's not about codependency, because I feel like a lot of times in the medical and even sometimes in the alternative world, in the healing world, there's a lot of like codependency, like you need to come to me. I'm always kind of with my clients, like, I don't want you to keep coming to me. I want you to, but
Get healthy and move on.
Right.
And I think it's kind of a weird reverse psychology. I think that's how I get more busy because I'm not trying to make somebody dependent on me. I'm trying to help them to, heal themselves. I give them tools, but we always need sometimes someone to hold our hand, or reframe things, or make us look at things in a different way.
Accountability too, someone to check in with that has the expertise that you're actually checking in it with.
But like you say, it's a very fine line. I mean, I think we do have a culture where we don't trust ourselves,
Yes.
and we do think everything is on the outside. All the answers are on the outside. a lot of people don't want to take the responsibility of actually doing the work themselves.
It's very true.
And there's a whole industry built around taking advantage of us in that way. For instance, if, I'm just going to go for it. There's a drug out there called Humira. And this drug is for arthritis, different forms of arthritis, and to get rid of joint pain. Well, people just think, let's do the quick fix. And if they were just willing to look into what's causing the joint pain, why do I have arthritis? Where is it coming from? What can I do through a holistic approach to get rid of the arthritis instead of giving these drug companies and making my body worse, because there's always a snowball effect from that. There's always one thing, will attack another.
You just hit on a really, really core point with, alternative medicine. These medications and a lot of these medical treatments, they just basically camouflage. They just kind of cover the lid.
You put a little Band-Aid.
When I was going through my illness, I tried every therapy, every supplement, you name it, I have it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it worked. And then I hit a wall and I was like, why am I not getting better? I'm spending a fortune on all the top.
Can you go into some of the therapies you were trying?
Yeah, I will. I will in just a bit. A lot of it was emotional, and then besides emotional, what is triggering all this emotional stuff? You go through your childhood issues. You clear things up, like your patterns of how you were raised, and a lot of it, because I never believed this at the time, but I had these experiences of like past lives, and we're coming into this lifetime with all this trauma that's unhealed, and it's triggering all these emotions and memories. And when you have these emotions and these memories, it actually creates like a chemical, an actual physiological chemical imbalance in the body. And that's really the root. That's like part of it is like the spiritual healing, spiritual awakening. So my biggest therapy that was like kind of the foundation that opened up all the other channels of the right types of therapies and herbs to come through was Kundalini Yoga.
Okay. Great.
And
and so you started taking classes, and that's when you saw this unveiling,
and
unraveling.
What it did is it brought me back into myself. It brought me back into my intuition. It brought me back into my voice, into my own sense of who I really am and why I was here. And then from there, I would attract the right practitioner that I needed to work with at the time, the right herb that I needed to work with at the time, from like the right brand. So it wasn't really. You just have to kind of open that part of yourself up for the healing to come, because it's not going to be, everyone's like, everyone thinks it's going to be this herb or it's going to be this supplement, but it's not. Those things are like the cherry on the top.
Yeah. Until you've opened up and are ready to receive them. Will you tell our audience, our viewers and listeners, what Kundalini Yoga is specifically compared to other? I know you're both big yoga girls, and I should be, and my daughter will punch me in the face if I.
No, I'm glad you asked that. I was going to say the same thing.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked.
Yes,
because the word yoga is used, just like wellness. Wellness could be Botox, and I'm like, what? How's that wellness? Okay, so Kundalini Yoga, as I practice it, and as I was taught it, and as I study it, and as I teach it, is the oldest form of yoga. I know some of the yogis out there might be like, it's not, but it is. And it's the oldest form of yoga. Yogi Bhajan brought it to the States in 1969. And before that, it was kept secret. It wasn't taught out in the open. It was only taught to royalty. And every time any kind of yoga master would try to bring Kundalini Yoga out into the public, they would die within a year.
Ooh. Wow.
So he was successful.
Yeah.
And it's out in the open, and it is being taught all over the world. It's even being taught. I just saw like a show. It's being taught in Egypt, and I was like, oh, look at that. And it's not just based. People think it's based in India, but I actually did some research, and I talked to some of the Sikhs within the community that kind of give you the little secrets about Kundalini Yoga, and they said actually it started in Africa.
Oh wow!
And we think it may have even and I'm not just saying this because I'm Egyptian, I swear, but they think that it probably started with the pharaohs.
Okay.
And
That makes sense to me.
If you look at some of the hieroglyphics, you can see some remnants of that. So,
Wow.
and I
Now,
think
where did you train? Because I used to go to the on Robertson.
the one on Robertson's
Yeah.
Yoga West.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
studied with a lot of the top, yoga masters, but to be honest, a lot of my training, I did a lot of white tantrics, and that's where are you guys familiar with white?
No, not me.
So there's one coming up.
Yeah.
White tantric yoga is where you will they do like 6 to 8 like meditations, and you hold a posture and you're doing like a mantra, and you're doing each one for 31 or 62 minutes each, usually 62 minutes.
Wait, each. So how many are there in one session?
So 6 to 8 so an hour each, about an hour each. And so when you do one day, I mean,
It's a whole day.
oh my goodness, it's like equivalent to doing Kundalini Yoga for 90 minutes 3 times a week for a year. That one
Wow.
day.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've done like
Very cathartic, I bet. You just
between
told-
45 to 50 days of those. So that's equivalent of having like 50 years of experience
Yeah.
under your belt. Plus, I was doing my own practice and my own side. And that's actually the teacher's training. So I started doing that because I was really ill, really, really ill. And one of the doctors I saw told me that I was going to end up in a wheelchair and I was not going to be able to walk again.
Oh,
so the yoga
Yeah.
kept me out of a wheelchair. And I did a lot of those intensives. So by the time I was like, oh, maybe it's time for me to get my certificate, it was so kindergarten to me.
Yeah, I'm sure. After
Right.
50 years.
I just couldn't I tried to do teacher's training twice, and I was just learning. I had learned so much more in-depth stuff about Kundalini Yoga than they because I'm sure if they taught that stuff in the teacher's training, most of the students would be like, "This is way too much. Like this is too much. I don't want to do it through
Yeah,
this."
yeah. So they probably water it down a lot.
They
Yeah.
watered it down, and so I 2 times I went through it. I paid for the course, but I never finished it because it just wasn't resonating with me. So I just got that I'm going to eventually open up my own teacher's training.
Yeah, it's so funny that we buy into that. We need to be certified or
Yeah.
taught, and sometimes,
Yeah,
we are the teacher.
Well, you own your own wellness
Yeah.
center, and but you can't. A lot of places won't hire. I mean, that's why I'm certified in so many things, is
Yeah.
so I can be hired because that's the first thing they ask for. But you have your own. I mean, that's
I am
what I
so
strive
not
for.
employable. It's not even. I just, and I've tried to fit in a box so many times. So and it was tough because I mean, a lot of my teachers and healers and shamans that I've worked with said, you're supposed to build your own path, and I'm like, that's really scary. What if people say question me, and they're like, they're going to question you. It's going to be scary, but you need to do it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So I'm starting to embark on that more
Yeah.
and just kind of getting over myself about it. So
getting out of your own way.
Yeah.
So you did this practice, and it reversed your symptoms, and you really
oh my God, it just
through this and the opening up and allowing everything else to heal you.
it opened up the whole universe to me.
Uh-huh.
It helped me to tap into, and I'm sure you've heard of the term, into the Akashic Record.
Yes.
And the Akashic Record, for those of you who are not totally familiar with it, is all the information in the universe that ever is, was, and shall be. And there's a certain place in your mind that you get to be able to access that. And that's where you start to use more than 10% of your brain, which we're all meant to do. But a lot of people are fearful about it. But I think we're coming more into a time where it's necessary. You just kind of have to do that now to survive, because the frequency of the planet is shifting. And now it's. I know that sounds so woo-woo and airy-fairy, but
No.
you can't. But most people now
true.
can't deny it. Well, even for those who are very logical, you can't deny it anymore. I mean, look at what's happening in the world. And
Right.
in every area, you really can't deny that there's some major shift happening that's beyond all of our control, and it's there to help us evolve as humans. So.
And
Fascinating.
And I just love that you took what worked for you and said, I'm going to spread the word. I'm going to spread the knowledge and help others through this holistic approach, because it works.
It really, really does. I mean, it's just, and then when people ask, well, what's your background? What did you study? And I said, well, I've studied this. I do have a stack of certificates, by the way. It's not like,
No.
I mean, it's an insane stack. But at the end of the day, I'm like, well, you know, you've gone to the professionals and the people with the degrees, but what has been the outcome? At the end of the day, it's really like, what's the end result?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes it's going to be unconventional. I'm not telling everyone go unconventional, you know, but that's what works for me. That's what works in my practice. That's what works in my client. So I think you need to, when people are seeking out other healers or practitioners, I think they need to seek them out for, like you said, their background. Like, what are they really, really good at? You know, some people are book smart, and that's what you need to go see them for. And other people, like, I'm really completely self-taught.
Yeah.
Even when
it
it comes to your compound,
Everything.
Wow. Yeah.
My nutrition program,
Yeah.
self-taught. I work with about 4,000 different herbs and supplements, and I never give anyone anything I've never ingested myself. So you can say I've taken a lot of herbs.
So you're the guinea pig.
yeah.
I am.
And so how, so from the time of getting well out of college, how long did that take until you decided you were going to open your own wellness center and help others?
Well, my wellness center is actually like, I'm always like, don't like to be in offices. I don't like to be in a box. So I have, you know, office space, but I really try to stay out of it as much as I can. I do a lot of like one-on-one, like either on the phone or like I have a lot of clients like in Newport where I actually go to their home, because I find when you're in their space and you're in their face, that's really where they're going to make the change, or you go into their office, you know. So I'm trying to now set it up to be more virtual. And one of the offerings we're going to be offering, I said that twice, destination luxury retreats. So traveling and kind of taking a wellness on the road.
Yeah. So when I'm going to go back to the compound herbs. How do you test for? I'm going to say the word wrong. Kinesthetically, do you test what people are deficient in? Because I know a lot of people use muscle testing and things like that. How do you go about finding out where they're deficient or what herbs they need?
I'm pretty adept at using kinesiology, muscle testing. I don't use it all the time. I actually teach the clients to muscle test themselves if it's necessary, but I have a really in-depth intake with a lot of questions, like exhaustive. Like most of my clients are like, this is more than like my doctors all put together have asked me.
Wow.
So
Which they love, because they love when somebody gets so personal with them and really cares.
Some
you
of
know?
them like
That's
it.
what I find with
and
my
then
clients.
After page 30, they're like, are we done yet?
I was just about to say, can you give us some examples of some of the questions?
I ask weird questions.
Yeah.
I do. Some of them are esoteric. Some of them are medical. I like to know their health history, their background, their genetics, their childhood. You know, what they eat, what they do for exercise. Kind of like I do a really in-depth intake about what their constitution is like, how they react to stress. And then I see where their body is off, like currently, and I kind of start to put and piece everything together. Another thing, there's other like blood analysis and things that can be done. I always ask clients, you know, go to your doctor, get a whole, you know,
blood work.
Just let's get all the tests it depends on how much, you know, money and how in depth they want to go. Like if you really want to have like a scientific, we can go that route. It'll just, you know, entail more, but it's always good. But a lot of it is through visual signs, like, and that was actually, I think, the ancient way. Before we had all these tests,
They would use the eye,
the eyes, the tongue, the skin, the pulse.
So much of that.
There's a lot of that that's actually been like kind of lost.
Wow.
Oh, I love what
Well,
you do. We're going to
that's our
dig into
music.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
This is our commercial
We're
break.
just going to go off air for a couple of minutes,
Yes.
and we will be
Come right back. Remind you to call in 323-473-3100 if you have a question about anything you might be going through right now. We'll be right back.
We We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, I'm Del Lady Jones, and I'm a certified relationship and divorce coach.
And I'm Debbie Carlin Boyle, a certified personal trainer, fitness instructor, and health coach.
Join us on Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Pacific, for Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and everything in between, exclusively on LA Talk Live.
Become part of the conversation with expert guests discussing life-changing topics such as relationships, divorce, longevity, parenting challenges, dating, intimacy, and so much more.
We would love to hear your opinions and questions, either on our Facebook page or by calling us directly at 323-473-3100. We are Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and everything in between. Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Pacific on latalklive.com.
You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, and now live on Facebook, or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. And now on our YouTube channel, Del and Debbie Mind, Body, Soul. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, I'm Del.
And I'm Debbie.
And as a special thank you to our listeners, we'd like to offer a complimentary coaching session with either one of us or both of us if you so choose. Check us out on our individual website, delladyjones.com and fitbydesignla.com. We can work with anyone, anywhere, in person or remotely.
Contact us through our Facebook page or website at Del and Debbie Mind, Body, Soul, and leave your info and we will get right back to you. We look forward to assisting you in living a happy, healthy, and fulfilling life.
I got this feeling.
Hi, and welcome back to Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, and everything in between. We have a wonderful show today here with Mary Attalla, and we're talking about alternative healing. And I know that, Mary, you have from what I was reading, you seem to have like a 5-prong approach to preventative wellness, you call it. And I'm just going to go over the 5, and then we're going to like you to go into each one a little more in depth. But I see that you do lifestyle coaching, you do the integrative bodywork therapy,
Correct.
and the Kundalini Yoga and nutritional counseling. So let's start with the first one here, the lifestyle coaching. What do you do when you get a new client that needs your help?
I get into their brain, I get into their head.
Which is what
Great.
you've been saying.
Yeah.
I try to kind of, crack the nut open and see what's in there.
Yeah.
And see what I'm really dealing with. Because I think a lot of people, and this is, I think, with all relationships, they come at you with the face that they want to show you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm more interested in, like, what's really going on,
Yeah.
And why are you really coming to me? What is it that you want to change? And I think a lot of times they don't realize why. They just know they want to come and make a change. And I think it's my, because I've looked so deep inside myself, because I've had to, that I have this gift for really seeing inside of a person to see, what they need and how they're standing in their own way. So I know, like, lifestyle coaching, it sounds a little on the superficial end, but there's a lot of I'm actually starting to spin that into more like alternative psychotherapy.
Oh, cool. Great. Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah. Spiritual psychology.
Yes. So the typical person, so a person would come to you, would they be sick, maybe ailing from disease, or they're just not feeling right and they haven't been diagnosed yet? Or yes, all those things.
Yeah, or even maybe issues with weight or anything like that as well.
Issues. It's usually something physical or something on the outside, or issues with their love life or their relationship. And they want to look good or feel better because they want to attain, something. And they just want to change. They're just not happy with themselves. They're just, something's not working. They've tried everything, or they want something a little more alternative and different than what's out there. And so that's where I come in.
Wonderful. That's so cool. When you say lifestyle coaching is a little superficial, I know what you mean, because people sometimes come to you with, I want to achieve this goal on the outside. Right. And what they don't realize is the outer world is a reflection of our inner world. Yeah. And it's really when you do the work on the inside is when your outside
Everything.
changes.
Here's a good
It's
example. Like, I want to get rid of my cellulite. Okay, well, did you know that emotionally, women who have cellulite in their body, they're basically holding on to some kind of bitterness. There's some, so it expresses itself on the outside. So,
Wow.
there,
Do you have any more like that? This is fascinating. Share some more like this.
okay, pick one.
Okay, let
Well-
me.
Well, okay, so
What's a common, something common?
all right, somebody who let's see, God, who's having trouble growing out their hair, let's say.
Well, actually, there's been a lot of people, this is kind of off topic, but this is a good point. There's been a lot of women, especially coming in, they're losing a lot of hair. I think it has to do with the radiation levels in
Wow.
California right now.
Interesting.
So that's actually
Yeah.
like a physical thing. But
Yeah.
here's one I thought, like UTIs, urinary tract infections.
Yeah.
very common.
Women who have them typically are holding some kind of grudge against men.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
interesting.
Very
Yeah.
like irritable.
And it manifests itself in your bladder through
Okay.
the way whether or not you
And
are able to.
filtering, taking on other people's emotions, not able to.
So it's the whole metaphysical.
And what about, like, because you used the word irritable, I'm thinking like IBS.
IBS, irritable bowel syndrome.
Yeah.
Irritable bowel syndrome and Crohn's typically,
Yes,
and
yeah.
any kind of colon issue is they're not letting go of something, a belief system that they grew up with that doesn't serve them anymore, and they're
Okay.
not able to digest life as it is
Wow.
now.
So,
Well, we can go on all day with
okay,
this because
yeah,
I've got
so-
one more I need to ask you. What about pancreatic cancer? Do you have a?
Well, anything pancreatic and diabetes have to do with, cancer is anger, a lot of anger and a lot of fear.
Yeah.
And the pancreas and diabetes have to do with, again, not feeling like life is not sweet anymore. Life is just, that you can't taste the sweetness of life anymore.
Wow.
So, knowing this, when a client comes to you with these things, how do you? So you determine that because this is what they're coming to you for,
Right.
and now, and so you already kind of have
I do.
So how do you? So, tell us the process that you would help somebody if they did come to you with IBS, let's say, that you would take them through to heal them. The whole, because it's the holistic, the whole body approach. When you're working from the inside out. So
Well, the first thing, I mean, my program and my healing, my healing system, it's pretty vast and it's pretty encompassing. And not everyone's ready to do. Most people are not ready to do the whole thing. And sometimes you have to meet them where they're at and respect.
Of course.
I don't want to push them away. I don't want to push them into a place that they're not ready to, because that completely defeats the purpose. So the biggest thing is I want to give them a quick win. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I want
absolutely.
them to encourage them,
Right.
and then
Feel
we can
empowered.
start to
Yeah.
do the deeper work, and let's work on the emotional stuff. Let's see what's going on with your mother. Let's see what's going on with your family growing, because then it all starts to come out.
Sure.
And they
absolutely.
just go on and on and on and talk about it, and just talking about it and becoming aware of it is a big part of the healing. Really, a
Absolutely.
big part of the healing.
So you're not holding on to
Getting it up
which
and
is
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why you do.
No pun intended.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Definitely no suppressing.
Yeah.
And that's why you do the extensive questions and questionnaire and getting. I do that in my practice too, because there's so much more to
There
someone.
really
I
is.
work with people mostly who want to get in look good. So, and feel good.
Yeah.
And they don't realize there's so much more to it than the food on their plate. There's so many things that feed us in life. And if something's off balance and isn't working
Yeah.
correctly, then it all throws everything else and everything else goes down. So I love this approach that you take with your clients. How do you work through word of mouth? Do people find you through other satisfied clients? Or?
Actually, I've been all word of mouth. I have now started to embark on scaling and marketing, which has been a whole
New process. I know. I'm doing that
I
too.
know.
Because we met at an event, a marketing event.
Marketing
so
event.
yeah.
And I'm just getting prepared because I feel like the response is going to be pretty big, and I just want to make sure I can handle
it.
Sure.
what comes.
Yeah. So going back to this, the four-prong approach you have. So integrative bodywork, is that stuff we've already talked about, or is that something? What is
actually.
that?
So I think one of the first therapies I learned was energy work. I got into energy work, and then I started, because I had so much physical pain, I figured, why don't I go to like healing arts school, because I'll get a lot of body work, I was like, good for me.
Yeah, of course.
And I delved really, really deep with it, and I think it's a really great way. It actually serves for me as a great diagnostic. I can connect with people through, touch, like healing touch, and I can hear what's going on in their body and like really help them to reconnect with their body physically, because I feel like a lot of people are not so connected with their body physically anymore. I'm actually trained in 30 different modalities. I went out there and I just wanted to learn everything I could. And then over time, I started hearing from my clients, like, no one's ever done that on me. What is that thing you're doing? Like, no, and I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean? And so I realized by accident that I'm still, because I'm still not totally clear on everything I do, but I think I'm kind of tapping into a whole system of body work that I'm creating. Wow. So I thought it was a technique, but there's more. So it's kind of my own system of body work that's coming out, and I'm starting to copyright.
30 different modalities. Can you name a few of them?
I like cranial sacral. That's a lot of that taught me a lot about how to, because my system really works heavily with the spinal fluid. The spinal fluid affects all the fluid systems in the body. My system also helps to actually naturally regenerate stem cells in the body, is what I'm finding. None of this is tested yet. This is all like in theory, so nobody throw like a medical book at me or anything. But the results that I've worked on a few hundred people now with my technique, and the results have been pretty phenomenal.
Wow.
So again, I don't know technically what I'm doing yet. I'm sure there'll be scientists that go and try it out, but I can tell you the results have been great.
But it sounds like you're intuitively doing, and clearly you're tapping into something. It's working, so you don't need to question it. I had I did a thing at the weekend, a shamanic workshop where we did some energy healing too. We took the river stones and we just sort of massaged it into each other, and fully clothed, I say. But it just felt so beautiful, amazing. Just so incredible. Just having somebody else hold the stones and just sort of work around you, and it's just incredible.
These are ancient practices that we're reviving again, and I think a lot of times when we think, oh, I'm figuring it out, it may be something I already knew that I'm just being reminded of.
Absolutely.
So it's coming back out.
It could be some past life. I used to think I was a medicine man. I've had a couple of past life experiences where I've been taken into them, and both times once I was in Africa. And, I saw myself there. And another time I was Native American and up on a rock somewhere dying, actually. I felt like I was about 95 years old, and I witnessed the whole thing of my spirit leaving my body.
Wow.
It was very cool.
This is interesting that you're saying that with your background. I've witnessed a lot of psychologists and psychotherapists are now putting a lot of past life work and a lot of like spiritual work into their therapies. And I feel like there's more benefit for the clients when they go there, but it's kind of like what you're doing is kind of where they're trying to, if I can say that, get to.
Well, for me, people say to me, well, what is spiritual psychology? And I'm saying it's the blend of classic I'm not a psychologist. I do need to get that out there. But I did study, I got a master's in spiritual psychology. And for me, the spiritual component is really what speeds the healing up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But some
so
people
important.
are not,
not in tune to that.
Are not ready for it.
Yeah.
That's right. And there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just whatever speaks to you and whatever helps you the most. But I just know what helped me the most on my journey. And in turn, that's why I do what I do. So,
And you also, I'm just looking at the menu of all the
fabulous things.
And you have spa treatments too, Eastern and European spa treatments.
I have a background in luxury, like clinical spa European therapies that I'm trained in. And I'm going to be incorporating that into my luxury wellness retreats.
Yeah.
Because it's divine.
And let's talk a little deeper about some of those.
There's a whole system of, so I have a palette of about 500 different like biochemical ingredients that I work with. So like anything that's like quote unquote wrap or like a detox, I create them myself from a palette of 500 ingredients customized to the person, to their experience, to what they're going through physically, whether they need to like do some chelation therapy or maybe pull plastics out of the body or let's get rid of the cellulite. You know? That's a little that's more on the a little more on the physical, but the physical is just as important
Yes,
too.
absolutely.
And I mean, I'm a little vain. I'm going to admit, you know, like I'm doing all this stuff because I want to look great. I want to feel sexy. I want, you know,
Well,
and it's
all people do. I
Why,
mean, it's feeling good in
I
our
think
own
it's
bodies
I
as
think
we
it's-
walk the walk.
it's important.
Yeah,
I think it's
very.
really important, and I think you shouldn't put that part out of the healing.
Absolutely.
No.
It doesn't, yes, it just because you have a spiritual component doesn't mean that you abandon. I mean, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So,
But again, like it's an integration of
Yeah,
all these aspects.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
together. And so, so when you put together these ingredients and these herbs and you compound, do you have in your center, your wellness center, do you have a whole separate?
I'm not
like-
offering that now because I need a certain kind of facility, like
that's why I'm asking.
to do that. I will do it for some clients, like in their home, because some of my clients have their own spa at home. They have the luxury of that. So it's what I'm actually incorporating. I'm launching now a new program. I have a couple clients about to get on board. It's but it's locally, more like Newport Beach, Orange County area, like a concierge wellness program, and some of it can be done in their home. It's a bit of a high ticket item, but it's not when you see everything you're getting, because I'm basically bringing like a retreat that you would do in 1 week, like a very luxurious retreat in your home over a course of a month.
wow.
And it's customized to them. And retreats are not
Every-
normally customized.
Yeah, no,
Here's
they're
this
not.
this
Wow.
treatment. Now we're
Completely
going on to this
customized.
treatment.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing. So would that just be once a week, or how is that broken down over the month?
They're usually probably getting worked on at least 5 days a week.
Oh
it's
wow.
It's pretty.
Intensive.
I think it's on the
On the menu?
on the list, the other sheet attached to it. Did you get that?
Oh yeah, no, I did, but I
Okay.
didn't print it out. I did.
But
I do
again,
have it.
I mean, I don't like to, I put things just so people have an idea, but it's going to be around their schedule, around what they, you know, what's feasible, because
Now, could somebody do this in with a couple, maybe a husband and
Yes.
wife, or maybe a few girlfriends got together and did it, groups as well
for
as
somebody's
individual?
birthday.
A month-long birthday. It's a
Yeah.
month-long, Debbie. 5 days a week.
That's okay. It's a
Yeah.
really good gift.
Are you hinting it's your
Especially-
birthday in a
yeah,
couple of months?
Especially when you're turning the big, you had a big one coming up. There we go. No, but yeah, can people do that kind of thing for?
you know, I
as a
have
gift?
this is what I know you have to come up
Oh, I
with
see.
something and a
It's here.
menu.
I
Yeah.
see.
But basically, my whole program is customized, and if someone has a need outside of what I offer, we're going to work, around it.
Yeah.
My advisors and things are like, you need to package it this way. You need to put it so that it's a little bit more like palatable. I'm like, okay, we'll do that. But at the end of the day, we're going to be doing it, I know, like my way. Because
That's so fun. I find the same thing with mine. People are just like, you have to offer these, coaching packages where it's this and this. And I'm like, it doesn't work like
No,
that.
it doesn't.
Somebody comes into
Yeah.
my office. It's an exploration, like you say. I mean, it's like I'm a painter as well, and I'm asking
Yes, yeah.
questions, and I feel like I'm painting.
Yeah.
From whatever the responses are, I'm creating a picture.
Yeah.
And it's totally individual. And then depending on what emerges out of those initial consultations, and again, you're fluid. It's not just one thing fits.
But I think people get frustrated with us artists because they're like, well, what the hell am I paying for? And I'm like,
Exactly.
okay, here's the menu.
Yeah.
But let's meet. And then they start to see, oh, okay. Because like I have a client now, and she wanted me to write everything out. And I'm like, well, if I write everything out, I know what's going to happen. You're not going to do it.
Yeah.
But if I'm on the phone with you every day and you're texting me and I'm catching you in the act of making the wrong nutrition. And so now it's like second nature to her. And she's like, okay, what's next? What's next? And I said, I said, you'll get your write up at the end.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing that, I do when I personally train a client. Now, I do it also in my coaching practice, when I set up, lifestyle changes, and a lot of it has to do with their diet. But, if they're capable. I mean, the gym is there. They could go in, they can do the exercises, but they don't know there's usually a rhyme or a reason on how things work. And I individualize it based on all the pre-work I do with them. And to get results, they are coming to me to be accountable to something. Otherwise, they're just going to come in, maybe walk in the treadmill for 5 minutes and walk out. And it's the best analogy I can think of, for what you do.
Okay, so you kind of, I feel like you kind of busted me on something. So that's me with the gym. I have a personal trainer. I think she might be listening. So if it wasn't for her.
Yeah.
That's how all my clients are too.
She's trying.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's funny. She's going to yell at me for this. So I see her 4 times a week, but then she had a schedule where we could only meet 3 days a week. And she now writes my 4th workout for me to do on my own. I'm not doing it.
Okay, you just,
but when
you're
with
outed
her,
yourself.
Okay, so when you're with her, there's accountability, and there's somebody, there's an actual physical person showing you. You don't have to think so hard or work so hard. But they push you harder. And that's why a football team has a coach, and that's what coaching is all about. It's to push you to your maximum ability.
And that's actually what I do with my yoga privates. I take my clients to a place they would never get to on their own within their meditation or their flexibility or whatever they're trying to work on. And then when we do a session, I push them, and then I create a set, and then they can start doing it on their own every day. But it's just like you set that bar. You really, when it comes to who you work with, you really get what you pay for. You really whatever you put out is what you're going to get back.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so it's good to work with if you really want to get some goals and make some changes, work with a master, work with an expert in the field, pay the extra money, because you're going to get way more out of that one session than you would doing 20 sessions at a
I mean, that's wonderful
really
advice. That's very, very true. So, I do want to, we talked earlier about resistance, that you come across some clients with some resistance. So I just wondered, how do you handle that? And what are some of the most common resistance that you find?
Okay. The resistance will manifest itself differently for each personality, each person. So you kind of have to know what makes this person, where you really need to push this person, and where you need to kind of nurture them and support them. And a lot of times, because I am not the type of practitioner that I want you to just come and pay me. We're going to do the same thing. There's a lot of practitioners I know that are out there, because a lot of clients will go back to those practitioners when they see I'm not that. But then you've planted a seed, and they're going to come back, and they're going to realize, okay, she already pushed me, and I'm already changed a little, so I can't really go back to my old pattern. And I think it's the resistance, and it's really like a set. It's the same resistance in most everyone. It's a fear of the unknown.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm afraid. I'm so comfortable, and I've been there so many times. You know what I mean? So many times.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to hire someone to smack me out of it. Like my personal trainer, for example. And I want to make the change, but I'm just so scared, or maybe I've had bad experiences with other people I've gone through. But that's part of learning. Put yourself out there. Get ripped off. You know what I mean? That's part of you learning.
Go
okay,
through
well,
the fear.
You just, there's no excuse at that point. Even if you're afraid of what the outcome is, staying in the same place, that's way worse.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I find our best teachers come with the bad experiences.
Absolutely.
Because then you can really appreciate when you have a good person or a good teacher, and
Yeah.
you're going to get more out of that experience.
It's
And
true.
also sometimes people have like competing intentions. They you know, they talk about that wanting to achieve something, but they're just as committed to sort of hanging on to the status quo of how things are because they get something from it.
I don't allow it in my sphere. I just
Yeah.
don't. And I will blow the door open and yank the, even though it might not be like a popular thing, I'm just so invested in the person changing and transforming. And I've had people completely freak out on me and call me names. And I am like, you know what? We're getting somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just going to
And-
say, because they're so scared what they're seeing.
But
And-
they'll come back, you know, and they're seeing, okay, you're coming from a good place. You're showing me all my crap and all my stuff. And I don't care. Like, I work with a lot of high profile clients. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care who your lawyer is. You know, like, I'm here to help you grow spiritually. The nutrition and the herbs and the supplement, all that, and the treatments, that's all there to help you get in touch with yourself on a deep level. It's not about the that's all like the cherry on the top.
Right. Well, that
So-
just flows when everything else is all, connected correctly,
Like-
and
like
you've
you
gotten
said,
rid and you've flushed.
The
And,
change has to come. It has to come from inside. You can do like, that's why people will try things. It didn't work. It's because you're just doing surface stuff. You're
Yeah.
not. You got to dig a little deeper.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And you must get a lot of satisfaction then out of seeing clients dig deep and actually, just transform.
I do. I think that's really what. I think that's really what drives me. That's what gives me. That's what motivates me. I know it's kind of weird because everyone will ask you like, "Well, what's in it for you?" I kind of get off on it when people change. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
kind of like when you have been in one place and then I see them, like that's really where my it feeds me energetically, and then everything else starts to kind of
Well, it's fulfilling when you see somebody overcome obstacles and grow and expand beyond, their limiting beliefs. It's exhilarating.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just, what's the point of life if you're not fulfilled and energized by what you do?
Yeah. And what all three of us do is, what we've learned in our individual practices is to give back and help others. And then you see their change. They do something for you. There's nothing more satisfying than, I work with drug and alcohol in rehabs, and I've seen people realize how taking care of themselves but through, diet and exercising, they're doing all the other work with other specialists and therapists, but how it can make such a huge difference in their life and how they can look for things to numb them to feel better. And, I have personal training clients like that too that have came out of a really dark place and they were sitting on being overweight. They've tried to kill themselves.
Yeah.
All kinds of things that they just went so low. And to work with them, and it's a step-by-step thing to see them come out of that.
Yeah.
How satisfying is that?
I know, exactly. It makes life worth living. I was going to ask you, do you have an anecdotal story of somebody who was like a client, don't have to name names, but that had the biggest shift that was really for you just so validating about the work that you do?
I was part of a team of, I don't want to get into it too much because I can't talk too much.
Right.
I did
Understood.
help someone overcome, I was part of a team, but I felt like I was a big instrumental piece, overcome heroin.
That's amazing.
I know the feeling. It's
Yeah.
so...
That's wonderful.
It's just a really, wonderful thing when you can do that for them and give them life, because they're basically taking life away from themselves slowly but surely. Wow. Very, very
And so what are
intense.
some of the other, we've obviously the heroin, we've talked about that, but what are some of the other areas that you can help people with? I'm just thinking people out there listening.
I did also, I worked at a very high-end drug and alcohol rehab.
Oh, you
too,
did?
And I used bodywork and nutrition, and yoga was amazing for overcoming addiction. Cancer. Usually people come with me with really severe health issues and they want to go alternative or nothing else has worked. I've helped people with their emotional, relationship issues where they're getting stuck. I have a lot of CEOs, high profile business people, a couple politicians.
Ooh,
like I
interesting.
I've
Can you change their political
kind of, you know, like I like to work. I notice that I gravitate towards people who affect a lot of people's lives. I feel like I kind of help to.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm
That's
trying
great.
to influence them, but I'm trying to kind of give them perspective on maybe do things a little differently. And I think that's kind of where I'm called to work with in that area right now, because I think we need a lot of shift very quickly right now. And there's a lot of people who are in these places of power that they know they need to make a change, but they're not sure how.
Yeah,
Right.
that's great. I love hearing that.
Can you believe our hour is up? This is so amazing. So what we want you to do is give our audience all your information on how they can reach you and contact you, because we know that your website is under construction right now.
Yes.
And they can't get you that way. So tell them the best way to reach you so they can go. You can help them.
Yeah, I'll just give you guys direct phone number to call. It would be 949-837-0338. And you can also email me at attallawellness at gmail.com.
Yeah.
ATTALLAWELLNESS at gmail.
Yeah, because you have a beautiful brochure that you can email them back, and they can see all the things that you do, and it's
just lovely
totally
what you're
beautiful.
doing for
Yeah.
people. I just, it's on board with me. I thank you so much.
Yes,
we thank
you.
you for taking time
Yeah.
out of your day. We know you're not local here, and it's a drive. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we want to thank our audience for joining us today. Thank you. And
See
we're going
you
to see
next
you
week.
next week, 2 p.m. Pacific, down Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it. Moving so phenomenally. You're more like the way we rock it. So don't stop.
Thank you for tuning into LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network, original reality radio, and crafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.
Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good creeping up on you, so just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance.